Imagine the hush before a cosmic storm. The skies filled not with dark clouds, but with an intense, shimmering brilliance. Bright wings poised for battle. A silent standoff between loyalty and rebellion. Within these shimmering expanses stands one of the most enigmatic figures in sacred tradition, the Archangel Michael. He is neither a mild observer nor a distant celestial bystander. Instead, he reigns at the forefront of a war that has left its mark on the spiritual imagination of civilizations for millennia. Across countless texts, biblical passages, apocryphal writings, folklore, and theological commentaries, Michael emerges as a champion of divine justice and protector of God's people. Yet no confrontation in his storied legacy has sparked as much fascination as his battle against the Watchers. These are the angels said to have abandoned their place in heaven, stepping beyond cosmic boundaries to intermingle with humankind. It was a fateful choice that shook both earth and heaven, igniting a conflict of near-mythic proportions. This script will guide you through the heart of that celestial war. You will see how Michael, revered by Jews, Christians, and even recognized in Islamic tradition, rose against the proud rebellion of angels. You will learn about the ancient narratives describing the Watchers and the consequences of their fall, as well as how that epic struggle still resonates in modern spiritual discourse. Our journey will blend scriptural echoes, lore from the Book of Enoch, and centuries of interpretive tradition, inviting you into a realm where moral conflict transcends human history and touches the very structure of reality. Brace yourself for an odyssey of soaring wings, thunderous decrees, and cosmic judgments. The true heavenly war has waged between Archangel Michael and the Watchers. The Archangels and their role. Long before mortal eyes peered into telescopes, many ancient cultures pondered a universe replete with celestial beings. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, these angels were not quaint symbols, but real entities charged with tasks of enormous scope, guarding the gates of Eden, guiding nations, or delivering divine messages. At the pinnacle of this angelic order stood the archangels, powerful spirit beings who acted as primary agents of the Most High. Among them, Michael stands as a peerless warrior figure. In some accounts, he is exalted above all other archangels, labeled the great prince who stands guard over God's people. In depictions both ancient and modern, Michael wields a sword or spear, often trampling underfoot the symbolic dragon or demon. His name, who is like God, underscores a profound question. Which created being could ever stand on equal ground with the Almighty? In essence, Michael is the living assertion that no force, terrestrial or celestial, can surpass divine will, a realm of purpose and order. The heavenly court, as envisioned in apocalyptic and biblical texts, is no random congregation. Instead, it is portrayed as a tightly orchestrated assembly, each angelic rank fulfilling a role that sustains cosmic balance. Seraphim praise continually, cherubim guard the throne and sacred spaces, and other orders, thrones, dominions, powers, perform tasks aligned with the cosmic blueprint. At the apex of these ranks, archangels enact the Creator's most critical interventions. Gabriel is associated with key announcements. Raphael brings healing. Uriel presides over knowledge or the cosmic luminaries in some traditions. Then there is Michael, the angelic sentinel, whose duty often involves warfare against the forces that threaten divine order. To accept the role of an archangel is to stand perpetually in readiness, obeying commands that might involve descending to earth, confronting formidable beings, or protecting the righteous from spiritual assault. Seeds of conflict. Despite the harmony presumed to characterize the celestial realm, traditions hold that a primal discord once arose within this angelic host. Perhaps it began as envy, a hidden frustration brewing among certain angels who questioned the divine plan. Maybe it emerged from seeing Earth's inhabitants, less glorious yet curiously beloved, igniting dissent among those tasked to watch over humanity. Amid this tension, a fateful choice was made by a group of angels known as the Watchers. They would forsake their heavenly stations, cross into mortal affairs, and corrupt the fragile lines separating the human and the divine. The stage was set for confrontation with heaven's foremost champion, Michael, who could not stand idly by while divine ordinances were trampled. Guardians of humanity. In Jewish and Christian apocryphal tradition, especially in the Book of Enoch, the Watchers are depicted as angels assigned to oversee and instruct humanity. This might seem a noble charge, reflecting God's desire to guide human progress with angelic support. Indeed, the Watchers' very name implies vigilance and protective care. They were to observe, to keep watch, and to intervene only in alignment with divine counsel. But Enoch's text recounts that a faction of these Watchers became enamored with mortal women, a transgression that was forbidden. Earthly allure and the thirst for power led them away from their station. The Watchers descended, not as humble helpers, but as rebels seeking to exploit the potential of human civilization. The Descent and the Pact. According to the Book of Enoch, 200 Watchers bound themselves by an oath atop Mount Hermon. Led by prominent angels like Semiazah, also spelled Shemyaza, and Azazel, they pledged to share both the glories and the punishments of this venture. In that solemn pact, they set in motion a cosmic rebellion, no longer mere guardians, but conspirators in violating heavenly law. The Watchers' gifts to humankind were not purely benevolent, forbidden knowledge. They revealed secrets of weaponry, warfare, cosmetics, astrology, and enchantments. Hybrid offspring. They fathered giant progeny, the Nephilim, who spread violence and devoured resources, amplifying humanity's corruption. This incursion escalated swiftly, turning Earth into a war-torn realm stained by the Watchers' misguided ambitions. As humans embraced these new powers, they also fell deeper into moral darkness. The Watchers' initial curiosity about mortals had mutated into full-blown exploitation, and creation itself cried out for relief. Echoes in other traditions. While the Book of Enoch offers the richest depiction of the Watchers, the core idea of divine beings intermingling with humanity is not exclusive to one text. The cryptic verses in Genesis 6:1-4 mention sons of God, who took human women, producing giants. Ancient mythologies from Mesopotamia to Greece contain similar tales of gods consorting with mortals, suggesting a shared motif of how divine-human interactions can lead to chaos and monumental heroes, or monsters. In each variation, the Watchers represent a crossing of boundaries meant to remain inviolate. They embody how power, once used wrongly, unleashes destruction. And crucially, they reveal the precarious status of humankind, at once beneficiaries of advanced knowledge and victims of its perversions. Heaven's rumblings. For a time, it might have seemed the Watchers had succeeded without reprisal. Yet in the heavenly realms, their bold descent was never unseen. The courts of angels, arrayed in bright ranks, awaited the Creator's judgment. No rebellion could flourish indefinitely under the watchful eyes of archangels. The Watchers had not simply broken rules. They had declared independence from the moral order that undergirded the cosmos. Their unnatural offspring, the Nephilim, roamed Earth with ferocity, leaving ruin in their wake. Even the Earth itself, Enoch's writings say, lamented to heaven over humanity's bloodshed. The Watchers' hubris, an act of cosmic scale, demanded an equally cosmic response. A celestial warrior revealed. When you picture Archangel Michael in art or iconography, the imagery often aligns with a triumphant figure in gleaming armor, brandishing a sword or spear, subduing demonic forms. This portrayal has roots in scriptural and apocryphal accounts that champion Michael as God's principal agent in warfare. In the Book of Daniel, Michael is the great prince who contends with principalities on behalf of Israel. In Revelation 12, he leads the angels in battle against the dragon and his forces. But beyond these canonical references, the Book of Enoch gives further hints about Michael's role in confronting the Watchers. He appears not just as a silent guardian, but as a forceful prosecutor carrying out divine justice. Michael's name, who is like God, suggests the unwavering allegiance he embodies. In every confrontation, his mission is to uphold heaven's decrees and champion the righteous. The qualities of Michael's unyielding devotion. Michael's faithfulness to the Creator surpasses all question. Where rebellious angels scheme, Michael remains wholly aligned with divine will, setting him apart as the perfect foil to cosmic insurrection. Protector of souls. In many traditions, Michael guides souls, stands watch at the hour of death, and advocates for the faithful in the heavenly court. Even outside official scripture, stories abound of Michael's protective interventions during crises, plagues, or spiritual battles. Epitome of righteous might. While some angels epitomize knowledge, Uriel, or mercy, Raphael, Michael stands for the righteous fury that enforces heavenly order. When compassion must yield to discipline, Michael's sword descends to restore balance. Michael and various faiths. Michael's significance is not confined to a single religious tradition. Judaism regards him as the guardian of Israel. In Christianity, he is venerated as a saint, an archangel, and a heavenly general. Islam recognizes him as Michael, an angel distributing God's bounty and mercy. Though these traditions differ in details, they converge on a key point. Michael is intimately involved in humanity's spiritual welfare, battling forces that threaten the divine plan. Such widespread veneration underscores a universal longing for a divine champion. Indeed, the Watchers' rebellion set the stage for one of Michael's greatest challenges. The Watchers had turned from guardians to oppressors. Michael, the supreme guardian, would inevitably respond with all the potency heaven could muster. Prelude to conflict. As Earth descended into chaos, human blood spilled, monstrous giants ravaged the land, knowledge once pure grew twisted. Voices rose to the celestial throne, begging for deliverance. The Book of Enoch records how archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel petitioned the Most High on behalf of the righteous remnant on earth. Their plea: to curtail the Watchers' atrocities and restore cosmic order. In some apocryphal narratives, we see a gathering of the chief archangels, each assigned specific tasks. Gabriel might be tasked with dealing with the giants, Raphael with binding or healing, and Uriel with illuminating the Watchers' crimes. But at the center of it all, Michael is entrusted with the direct confrontation of these renegade angels. This sets the stage for an epic clash that transcends earthly boundaries. Michael's command from on high. According to Enoch's account, God instructs Michael to inform Semyaza and his companions of their impending doom. The Watchers had hoped their hybrid offspring could shield them from heaven's wrath, but divine judgment would not be swayed by their cunning. Michael, unwavering in purpose, descends with a message of condemnation and a decree. The Watchers must witness the destruction of their progeny, the Nephilim, and then endure everlasting chains in shadowy realms until the final judgment. Imagine that descent. Michael, radiant in the authority of heaven, stepping onto the land defiled by Watchers' misdeeds. The Watchers themselves, once majestic, now corrupted by forbidden lust and arrogance, confront the unstoppable reality of the Archangel's presence. A hush falls over creation as the blade of celestial justice is poised to strike. The clash of power. Though many traditions do not detail a blow-by-blow battle in the style of a modern epic, the concept of a war in heaven remains potent. The Watchers, possessing knowledge of warfare and sorcery, might attempt to resist, weaving illusions or rallying monstrous offspring. Meanwhile, Michael embodies the unstoppable might of cosmic law, commanding legions of loyal angels to quell the rebellion. Some texts speak of Watchers who repent too late, begging Enoch to intercede on their behalf. Michael, however, is not swayed by remorse, unaccompanied by submission to the divine order. The Watchers had unleashed a devastation that could not be undone by mere regret. Their sentence was sealed. Not even Enoch's prayers could rescue them from consequences. Binding the Watchers. A recurring motif in Enochian lore is the binding of fallen angels in subterranean prisons or deep abysses. Michael and his fellow archangels each play roles in confining these rebels, sealing them away from the realms they had corrupted. Azazel, singled out for especially grievous transgressions, is banished to a desolate wilderness, while Samiazah and others face captivity in nether realms. This binding is not depicted as mere punishment, but as a measure to protect the cosmic balance. With the Watchers immobilized, their negative influence is curtailed, allowing humanity a chance to recover. Yet their final judgment remains scheduled for an ultimate day of reckoning, implying the Watcher's story is not wholly ended, only paused. Echoes in Revelation's war in heaven. While the Book of Revelation does not explicitly name the Watchers, it narrates a war in heaven between Michael and the dragon, commonly identified with Satan, and the dragon's angels, Revelation 12. This imagery parallels Enoch's earlier tradition. Michael leads faithful angels against cosmic rebels, culminating in their expulsion from heaven. For many readers, these narratives converge into a single tapestry of spiritual warfare, linking the Watcher's downfall to the broader struggle between good and evil that threads throughout biblical lore. Regardless of interpretive nuances, the essential theme remains constant. Michael stands as the unwavering champion of divine decree. The Watchers embody proud insurrection. When these forces collide, the outcome underscores an abiding truth. No rebellion can endure against the eternal laws at creation's heart. Humanity's suffering. While the Watchers' condemnation might seem a neat resolution, the cost to humanity was incalculable. The Nephilim's violence left entire regions ravaged. Knowledge that had the potential to benefit civilization, like metalwork or the understanding of celestial bodies, turned into tools of war and superstition. Fear spread among people who saw giants towering over them, unstoppable in might, corrupt in intent. The Watchers' betrayal led many humans into moral depravity, adopting dark practices once taught by these rebellious angels. Societies teetered on the edge of annihilation, spiraling into an age of unbridled cruelty. From the vantage of righteous individuals, it likely seemed as though the world was consumed by a tidal wave of sin, all traceable to the Watchers' ill-chosen descent. The flood as a purification. In canonical and apocryphal traditions alike, the Great Flood emerges as a climactic response to the Watchers' havoc. God, seeing the earth corrupt and filled with violence, decreed a cataclysmic cleansing. Though Enoch's account and the Book of Genesis differ in their emphases, both highlight a cosmic reset, sparing only the righteous, Noah and his family, and essential animal life. This deluge, while devastating, can be read as a reassertion of divine authority. The Watchers attempt to reshape Earth in their image, drowned under the relentless waters. In Enoch, the Watchers watch in horror as their offspring, the Nephilim, perish, realizing too late the futility of their rebellion. Through the flood, a battered humanity emerged, chastened but alive, inheriting a world purified from the Watchers' direct influence. Lingering shadows. Even after the floodwaters receded, the memory of the Watchers endured. Ancient peoples told stories of giant ruins or monstrous skeletons, attributing them to the Nephilim era. Some believed the spirits of these fallen giants remained as malevolent presences, demons seeking to torment mortals. In the worldview shaped by Enoch's writings, humanity still contended with the residual darkness left behind by the Watchers. In more metaphorical terms, the Watchers' infiltration symbolizes how swiftly divine gifts can be twisted toward destructive ends. That legacy resonates even in modern discourse about technology, power, and the moral obligations that come with knowledge. As it was in the days of the Watchers, so it may be now. When we forget our higher purpose, we risk descending into chaos. Angelic tension. The Watchers' downfall also reverberated through the angelic host. Their sin was a cautionary tale about pride, lust, and the boundaries that separated heaven's holiness from earthly corruption. If Watchers could fall, who else might be susceptible? This lingering doubt may have compelled greater vigilance among loyal angels. For Michael, the Watcher's sentencing solidified his role as the foremost enforcer of divine justice. Any new rebellion in the celestial ranks would be met with the same unyielding force. In a sense, the Watcher's story served to fortify heaven's resolve. Every angel understood the gravity of disobedience. Once you leave your appointed place, you stand against the unbreakable law that sustains the cosmos. A precursor to later revolts. Some traditions see the Watchers' insurrection as separate from later angelic rebellions led by Lucifer or the devil. Others merge these narratives into one overarching cosmic war. Regardless, the Watchers' narrative established a pattern. Angels can choose disobedience, and such rebellion inevitably leads to dire consequences. In medieval Christian theology, the Watchers often merged with or were overshadowed by the concept of fallen angels under Satan's command. Yet the Book of Enoch maintains a distinct identity for these Watchers, emphasizing their role as guardians turned transgressors, rather than a single arch-rebel leading a uniform revolt. Judgment deferred. While the Watchers were bound, Enoch's text insists their ultimate punishment awaits an appointed day, when the entire cosmic order stands before the final judgment. Until then, they remain in chains, a dread reminder of how even the highest ranks can fall. This theological outlook resonates with broader Christian eschatology, suggesting that the Watchers represent a fraction of the fallen powers that eventually coalesce into the forces cast out by Michael in Revelation 12. Indeed, the Watcher's story underscores that though certain battles may end, the overarching war continues in the tension between free will and divine law. The Watchers as archetypes. From a symbolic perspective, the Watchers can be viewed as archetypes of misused potential. Entrusted with oversight, they misdirected their energies to subjugate humanity and satisfy personal desires. This pattern recurs throughout history. Leaders or caretakers who betray those they should protect, bringing society to the brink. For readers inclined toward personal application, the Watcher's downfall warns against letting pride or temptation overshadow duty. It begs questions like, where in my life have I crossed boundaries I was meant to respect? How can I avoid letting my gifts become tools of harm rather than service? Michael as the guardian. Ideal, conversely, Michael embodies steadfast obedience and unwavering moral clarity. In religious iconography, his sword stands for discernment, cutting away deception and illusions. He does not question the justice of the Creator nor succumb to the Watcher's envy of humanity. Instead, he remains aligned with the higher plan. even when that alignment requires him to wield righteous force. For those who see spirituality as an inner struggle, Michael becomes the archetype of the higher self, battling impulses that lead us astray. Contemplative traditions often speak of an internal guardian angel that confronts negative thought patterns or addictions. Michael, in this metaphor, is the champion of our noblest aspirations, forever challenging the rebellious watchers lurking in the psyche. Earth as a battlefield. Beyond these personal reflections, the Watcher's incursion suggests Earth itself is a battleground for cosmic principles. The bridging of heaven and earth is not always a gentle communion. It can be a confrontation between moral order and anarchy. Michael's triumph is not just an otherworldly tale, but a reassurance that goodness has a cosmic champion, that tyranny, though potent, cannot ultimately destroy hope. This perspective resonates with countless cultural narratives. It aligns with epics where gods intervene to set right what has been upended, or where guardians protect mortals from hidden evils. Enoch's Watcher's story is but one star in a galaxy of myths testifying that our mundane reality might be entwined with spiritual drama. Modern fascination. Despite its ancient roots, the story of Michael versus the Watchers continues to enthrall audiences today. Books, films, and even online forums speculate on the Watcher's identity, the nature of giants, and the possibility of further revelations hidden in uncanonical writings. People remain captivated by angels, frequently turning to apocryphal texts for glimpses of what canonical scripture omits or only hints at. In pop culture, Watchers and their half-giant offspring show up in urban fantasy, paranormal thrillers, or conspiracy theories about ancient aliens. While these modern retellings often stray far from biblical or apocryphal contexts, they underscore a persistent need to engage with legends that suggest humanity's predicament is shaped by forces beyond the visible. The ethical dimension. Stories of Watchers and Archangels are not mere curiosities. They tug at ethical questions. What does it mean to have power over others? The Watchers abuse their authority with catastrophic results. How do we react to knowledge that can be misused? Even beneficial arts can become instruments of war or manipulation when placed in reckless hands. Is redemption possible after catastrophic wrongdoing? The Watchers sought forgiveness, but the severity of their transgression sealed their fate. Where do we draw lines between justice and mercy? Through these narratives, believers and non-believers alike can explore how mythic structures mirror real-life moral tensions. Indeed, the Watchers represent the extremes of exploitation, while Michael channels the unwavering stand for principle. Pathways of devotion. In devout circles, Michael's victory remains a potent symbol of hope. Churches dedicated to Saint Michael often depict him in statuary, sword raised over the dragon, or a monstrous shape. Prayers to Michael invoke protection against spiritual evil, continuing a tradition that spans centuries. Meanwhile, Watchers serve as cautionary tales, reminding the faithful that even close proximity to the divine does not guarantee loyalty, a humbling truth about free will. For mystics, the Watcher's story might be read as an allegory of cosmic alchemy, where spiritual energies can either uplift or degrade the material realm. Michael's sword is then the sword of truth, dissecting illusions that cloud higher understanding. In that sense, the war in heaven plays out daily in the hearts of individuals seeking enlightenment or grappling with ignorance. Historical and literary analysis. Academic study of the Watchers, and Michael probes the development of angelology in Judaism and early Christianity. Texts like 1 Enoch, Jubilees, and fragments from Qumran demonstrate how these themes evolved. By comparing motifs from Mesopotamian, Canaanite, and Hellenistic traditions, scholars trace how ancient authors expanded on cryptic biblical verses, particularly Genesis 6:1 through 4, to craft a rich narrative tapestry. The Watcher's story also illuminates early Jewish attempts to explain the origin of evil and the presence of giant demigods in oral folklore. Meanwhile, Michael's prominence reveals how Jewish communities sought a heavenly patron against both physical and spiritual adversaries. Later Christian writings, including Revelation, adapt these ideas into a universal apocalyptic drama, culminating in Christ's final victory over Satan. Canon formation and marginalization. The Watcher's saga was once more popular among certain Jewish sects, evidenced by its presence in the Dead Sea Scrolls. However, Rabbinic Judaism and most branches of Christianity eventually excluded one Enoch from their canonical lists. The reasons are varied. Some found the speculation on angels excessive, others were wary of proto-Gnostic undertones, and still others questioned the text's authenticity. Despite this marginalization, the Book of Enoch remained treasured in Ethiopian Christianity. Today, growing interest in apocryphal literature has brought Enoch back into broader discourse, raising questions about how different faith communities decide which writings carry spiritual authority. The intersection of myth and faith. From a scholarly viewpoint, myth is not synonymous with falsehood, but with narrative structures that convey truths about human nature and the cosmos. The Watcher's myth, then, communicates an eternal tension. Guardians can become oppressors, and knowledge can be a double-edged sword. Michael's story conveys hope that divine providence prevails, even when cosmic boundaries are shattered. In this sense, the war in heaven transcends one culture or one era. It echoes the primal archetype of order confronting chaos, a motif repeated in countless mythologies. Whether regarded as literal history, parable, or mystic allegory, the Watcher's downfall and Michael's triumph remind us that moral lines matter, that cosmic order, though tested, ultimately reasserts itself. The ongoing spiritual struggle. If the Watcher's rebellion was the impetus for a heavenly war, Michael's involvement did not end when they were bound. Scripture and tradition tell us that the cosmic battle between rebellious forces and divine will continues through the ages. Evil manifests in multiple guises: tyrannical empires, dark impulses in human hearts, or spiritual influences sowing discord. Michael stands as a perpetual sentinel, responding whenever creation is threatened. For adherents who believe in angels as living realities, Michael's presence is invoked in personal struggles, be they internal temptations or external attacks. He is the angelic comrade in humanity's quest for holiness, the unwavering shield against corruption. In spiritual warfare, theology, prayers to Saint Michael or meditations on his triumph are potent rituals for warding off demonic influences. Human participation. Michael's victory, though anchored in celestial might, often enlists human cooperation. The Watchers gained ground only because mortals consented to their teachings and alliances. Likewise, resisting new forms of evil might require that humans align themselves with truth and reject corrupt lures. Throughout history, those who champion justice against oppression often identify with Michael's stance, the willingness to fight for a righteous cause, even when the opposition appears formidable. They see in Michael a role model for engaging with injustice, asserting that moral strength can conquer adversity. Reconciling divine mercy with judgment. One subtle tension in Michael's story is how he balances the fierce mandate to judge with the broader theme of divine mercy. The Watchers were condemned, the earth was flooded, but not without the possibility of renewal. In theological thought, punishment is not arbitrary cruelty, but a means to restore balance and deter future transgressors. Michael embodies this dynamic. He does not fight for the sake of violence, but to uphold the cosmic harmony that fosters life. When the Watchers defile that harmony, no leniency remains for repeated destruction. If this stance sounds harsh, it may prompt reflection on how love and justice can coexist in a moral universe. The war still matters. Why revisit a mythic war from ancient texts, especially in an era of technological marvels and scientific exploration? Perhaps because these older stories still speak to the fundamental moral struggles of humankind. We wrestle with the Watcher's dilemma. Do we use power for good or self-gain? We long for a champion like Michael who defends the vulnerable and upholds a higher law. In the Watchers, we see echoes of exploitation and arrogance that plague the modern age. In Michael, we glimpse the possibility that devotion and courage can indeed defeat cruelty. Their conflict reminds us that free will, both angelic and human, is a double-edged gift. It can sow greatness or spawn unspeakable horrors, a beacon of redemption. Though the Watcher's story is rife with tragedy, it ends with Earth cleansed, the rebellious bound, and righteous survivors forging a renewed future. Michael's example stands as a testament that not all angels falter. Even in the presence of betrayal, there are those who remain steadfast. In a cosmic sense, the Watchers highlight the fallibility of created beings, while Michael highlights the unshakable foundation of loyalty to the divine. For believers in a messianic timeline, the Watchers' conflict foreshadows a final confrontation at the end of days, where Michael once again leads the heavenly host. The Watchers, or their spiritual successors, attempt to usurp creation, but the Archangel's sword ensures that the new heaven and earth remain free from evil's dominion. The ongoing call. As you contemplate the magnitude of Michael's warfare with the Watchers, let it serve as more than a distant legend. It is a call to vigilance, an invitation to reflect on how we steward our knowledge, treat our neighbors, and resist corruption. After all, the Watchers fell not because they lacked power, but because they misdirected it. Michael's vigilance invites us to stand guard in our own realms. Whether it is defending ethical standards in a business, protecting the innocent in times of conflict, or safeguarding personal integrity in the face of temptation, we mimic Michael's example every time we refuse to succumb to darkness. In the grand narrative that spans from Genesis to Revelation, few episodes capture the imagination quite like the Watchers' rebellion and Michael's decisive intervention. We see in these stories the raw tension between free will and obedience, between the thirst for forbidden knowledge and the responsibility to wield gifts rightly. The Watchers beckoned humanity into shadow, offering wonders laced with ruin. Michael answered from the heights, wielding a sword forged in unwavering loyalty, shining as a beacon against the spreading night. This conflict, often dubbed the true heavenly war, is far more than a single event in a dusty ancient text. It is a mythic blueprint revealing how cosmic order contends with cosmic chaos. It reminds us that love sometimes appears as fierce guardianship, that justice can be severe, and that the cosmos itself abhors the subjugation of the innocent. And so, Archangel Michael stands eternal, ready to draw his sword whenever arrogance or cruelty oversteps divine bounds. The Watchers, those guardians turned predators, remain a cautionary specter, reminding every generation that no station, however high, is immune to pride's corrosive power. Whether you read these accounts as literal history, inspired revelation, or symbolic myth, their resonance remains powerful. We dwell in a world still grappling with monstrous possibilities. Yet we also find hope in the notion that transcendent forces may rise to defend creation, that somewhere in the swirling tapestry of reality stands a mighty presence, asking in every act of defiance, "Who is like God?" With that question rings the clarion call of Michael, and with it, a challenge to every soul that dares dwell on earth, to stand on the side of order against chaos, truth against deception, compassion against apathy. If the Watcher's fall teaches us anything, it is that knowledge divorced from morality sows ruin. If Michael's victory assures us of anything, It is that the might of the righteous endures, shining on through the darkest nights. So as you step away from this story, carry these lessons in your heart. The Watcher's error looms as a perennial caution. Michael's faith stands as a timeless guide. In each dawn we greet, in each choice we make, we inch closer to one side or the other, toward building or breaking. And in those private or global battles where darkness seems formidable, recall the unwavering archangel who once banished watchers and bound giants, whispering across eons that the cosmic struggle continues, and that each of us, angels and mortals alike, has a part to play in defending the light.